Welcome back, guys. Today is an honor. This is one I've been promising for a while. Several of my clients, my friends, I bring this incredible content creator up all the time. I'm excited to have her on. She is the host of the Rufo Show. If you guys have not checked it out, one of the awesome things that she tries to do is shift the Overton window on several different subjects. When it comes to sex workers, and different things like that. She's a former NBA dancer. She's a model and a content creator, and she is a fantastic person to have a conversation with. Please welcome Miss Jen Rufo to the show. How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited, Jen.
I'm like excited, nervous.
But beforehand, I was like, hey, Jen, you know, if there's anything you want me to take out of the podcast later, she's like, no, there's not going to be anything.
I mean, I'm pretty much an open book, but I'll let you know if
okay,
anything.
let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Jen, you have views on cuckolding that are that I've told several of my friends that are pretty well. Could you describe first off your views, and then later on we'll get to the second part. What are your views as far as that's concerned?
Well, let me just explain how I got into the whole cuckolding thing. So let's backtrack a little. About 2.5 years ago, I knew I wanted to start a podcast about sex, just because I felt like I had a lot of experiences that made me want to normalize female pleasure and all of these things. That I wasn't even in the LA lifestyle yet when I started that podcast. Fast forward to, I came to LA 4 months into moving to LA. I met a guy who right off the bat was like, I like when my girl cheats on me. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And I'm always had an open mind to this stuff and whatnot. So I was like, let's try it. It is cool. And in my opinion, it brings us closer together because I'm out, and he wanted to be like shocked with the video. He wanted to be like at work and we send him a video of me having sex with someone else and just like be surprised with it. That's how, but he didn't want to like sit there and be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, and watch it. We did go to sex parties where we were doing things with other people in the same room, but he didn't want to sit there and be embarrassed.
Yeah.
He wanted just me to send him a video or tell him the story about it. And after dating him, I've learned that there's levels to this.
Yes.
When I now have that same kink, but my kink comes from a place of, I love this person so much that I enjoy seeing them get pleasure.
Well, I don't think that's cuckolding though. If you're a woman watching another woman with your man, I feel like that's a little different. Specifically because, well, I mean, I can go into the evolutionary reasons behind it, but like it's interesting that you say that. That isn't what's controversial though, Jen, because there's a lot of people who are into cuckolding. What's controversial is that you think deep down every man would be, or most men would be into cuckolding, but society sort of like programs it out of us.
I don't know if I would say most. I would just say more.
More.
Would be.
Yeah.
Yes, because religious programming, because societal programming, because of these things that are wired that we have to kind of unlearn. I know you believe it's factual and evolutionary based. I believe it's more our programming and like reprogramming how we think and unlearning some things. And yes, I do think that more men would be into it if it wasn't so like, if cuck wasn't so stigmatized, you know?
You brought up specific stigmas about like homosexuality and stuff like that. Can you go into that? You thought that was some of the things. And then also about the stigmas about as far as the women being involved in the lifestyle and how they would come off as being promiscuous. Can you go over those stigmas?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean as far as homosexuality?
Well, you brought up before when we were talking, I was in Miami one time and I was sitting there with this girl and I brought you up and we started texting. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
And
we got in a fight.
And we got in a big fight about this. And that's when we started talking about like how, because I kind of understood where you were coming from, was the idea that part of the stigma of you watching another man have sex with your girl was that you would be labeled by society as homosexual. And that was part of the stigma.
Well, that's what you argued, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't argue that. Well, my argument was, I had two arguments. My first argument was there's nothing wrong if somebody's homosexual. That was my first argument.
Yeah,
the second argument was that that's not essentially what I believe, but I thought that was 3 standard deviations outside the norm.
So
that was my point.
I do think that most men are afraid to, join in orgies or have another man with their dick out in the same room because they believe that means that they're gay, and that's just not the truth. It actually takes a man who's very secure in their sexuality to be able to be in the same room and have these experiences and it still be fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, the fact that you believe that people are a little gay, that's what made me mad.
I didn't believe that they were gay. That's where we got into. We started talking about the stigma. So again, I think where the misunderstanding was, because I remember we were texting for a while before I called you. The misunderstanding was that my point was not that it was good or bad. I don't think it's good or bad. What I thought was that it didn't make sense evolutionarily for me to watch my girlfriend have sex with another dude. Yeah. That was the point I was trying to make. Do I think there's an adrenaline rush? Fuck yes. But the adrenaline rush, in a lot of cases, like 88% of murders, not 88, like I think I got that stat wrong. It's like 78% of murders are men killing other men over women. So the thing is, like, my argument was, because you had never had the like full 1100 testosterone male experience, and like, but you've seen violence that men would be able to commit towards other men, and then sort of extrapolating that to more men want to watch their partners have sex with women. And my whole thing was, every fiber of my being said, no, Jen, that is not true. Now, I'm not, that's why I'm so fascinated and why I love having this discussion. And everyone I know wants to hear you talk about this. The belief that you think more men would be into this.
1000%.
Right? Well, now let me ask you something. The specific, because this is the word you said to me. You said, like, you have to do the work, and you felt like it was an evolved manner for men to be able to accept watching other women have sex with their men.
I do. I feel like, just like you think it's evolutionary, or it is evolutionary that men act a certain way, it's the same thing. You can evolve, right? Evolution is evolving. So if you want to evolve in that direction, you can do the work and like reprogram your brain in a way that's like, oh, I'm not gay if I'm in the same room as someone who's having sex, a guy that's having sex. Like, there's dicks out everywhere, and I'm a man, and I'm fine with that. Like, you can and the people in the lifestyle are actually just so open-minded, and so you get close to these people so fast, obviously, because you're all fucking each other.
You get close to them, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, I had a friend who, he's married, and his wife is in the lifestyle, and he said, I brought this up to him. I said, I have friends who think this way. And they're like, no, it's just like, if you love your best friend, like, why wouldn't you want him to fuck your wife? And I know that sounds so like absurd to some people, but if you trust this person and they're all having pleasure, it's just like, why the fuck not?
I think the second part where we had, again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Again, my whole point was about human evolution, was and this is the second part where we got into an argument, was the idea that my heterosexuality is tied to my masculinity. Not that a homosexual man can't be masculine, but your heterosexuality is not tied to your femininity. And the reason why I bring that up is because heterosexual women can kiss each other on their birthday, even play with each other's boobs. And there's no intimation that they're homosexual. Men, if they do the same thing, it just looks very awkward. And not looks very awkward. Awkward is like probably not the right word.
But that's just societal programming.
See, I don't think it is.
It is.
I think
it's 1000%. I've seen guys grab other guys' dicks jokingly, and it's the same shit. It's just like playful, like a girl's like, like grabbing a boob. A guy's like, no homo. Like, it's just like, it's the same shit.
I don't think it's the same shit.
I think it is.
I think there is a you want to say double standard.
I don't believe in double standards.
Okay, well, see, that's the difference. Because the other thing, Jen, that we're talking about here is that the belief that you think that most women would want to have multiple male partners but don't do so because they feel...
Well, think of it this way. From a young age, a woman is, it's all about getting the man. It's all about him picking you. It's like we are programmed in a certain way. And I do think that if this program didn't exist, where it's like, I want him to want me, I want him to choose me, and we're like, no, like, I get to choose whoever, like, there's plenty, we can choose each other, we can choose 2 people, we can choose 5 people. Like, I think that if we didn't have that programming, then yes, more women would feel comfortable being open.
Do you think
with more men.
Or do you think most women would?
I think more.
More.
I always think there's going, like, it's like, I don't know the facts. I don't know the science behind it. I just think more.
Yeah.
More.
No, I do think, so I'll give you a statistic that's interesting. So there's a book, I think everyone should read this. It's called Everybody Lies, and there's another one called Dataclysm, and they go over Google searches and porn searches for different parts of the country. So for instance, they found that Google counties where the N-word was searched more frequently every single time Barack Obama lost that county. That was like one of the things they showed in this book. Another thing they showed in the book was a situation where in the state of Vermont and the state of Alabama, in the state of Alabama, 2% of males reported to be homosexual. In the state of Vermont, 4.5% reported to be homosexual. When they looked at porn searches, exactly the same number.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you the societal programming.
The societal stigma. I'm not saying that there isn't a stigma. That was another argument we had. For instance, like no one's openly homosexual in Iran. You get stoned, they hang you upside down. No one's openly homosexual in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So for sure, I do agree in certain places that there is a societal stigma. I do, however, don't necessarily believe, like I know for a fact, and most of my guy friends know for a fact, we don't want to see somebody have sex with our girlfriend in front of us. Like that is grounds for murder. In fact, in the state of Texas, if you caught your wife in the act,
I also think that's because you're from Texas, quite frankly.
I mean, it could be.
But you're from the South and from Texas, and I think that programming has caused you to be that way. Also, you were in the military, so I think that program has caused you to be this way.
Could be. But I'll bring this up. In the state of Texas, if you caught your wife in the act of murder, there's a statute where it's like 7 years was the most you can get, and in some cases, if it's like second or third degree, then it ends up being like you get no criminal time or something to that effect. If you caught your wife having sex with someone else. Interesting. So it is one of those things. Look, and by the way, I do think that's barbaric, but at the same time, I will tell you from an evolutionary standpoint, and I'm not talking about me anecdotally. I'm saying from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes no sense when my species only has 60,000 people alive. Okay, we'll go back 50,000 years. There's only 60,000 Homo sapiens on the entire planet, and somehow my genetics are supposed to procreate, and I'm watching other people have sexual intercourse with my girl.
Please, you are just like all in the facts. Like it's just like it's not. Do you have any empathy? Like, do you feel from your? Okay, cool. So then, if you do, then just like let go of the facts or something, and just be present in this moment. Like if you didn't know any of that shit, say you didn't know any, because I don't know any of that shit, and I quite frankly, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care about it. Doesn't matter. Yeah. What matters is the present, and in the present, like I am having sex with other people, and it's fine. Like it's just you. Like all these facts, it just like is a number. It's just like a number. It doesn't mean anything.
So the reason why I bring those up is because anecdotally, from my own personal empathetic experience, I also feel the same way. That's the reason why I bring it up.
Okay, well, and I want to go back a little, because the reason why I do believe that more people would open up is because I had that experience.
For sure.
Like, I grew up in a big Italian bubble in New Jersey.
Yes.
Where everybody thought one way. And everybody was like, you know, they wrote slut on my car when I was in high school because I, like, kissed some girl's boyfriend or whatever. And, you know, it's just a very, like, slut-shamey, think one way kind of world. And it wasn't until I, like, went to Rutgers, I was exposed to more people. I couldn't wait to get out of this town. I loved being a part of a big, diverse school.
Yeah.
Then I moved to New York City, where even more diverse. And it's just, you keep expanding your views, and you learn these life experiences that come into your lap just like help shape you into being more open-minded about different things. Like if I was still hanging on to like, well, when I was in New Jersey, that wouldn't be, well, yeah, you're not gonna fucking have an orgy then, because you're still thinking like the people in my town who I want nothing, like I don't want to think like that.
Well, the issue is not that your thinking is wrong. Your thinking is perfectly legitimate because it's your thinking. My point was that you felt like more people would want to do it. And maybe that is true. More people. We had discussions about like the majority of men wanting to do this, and I don't ever think that would be possible.
Yeah, because they've never tried it. Because you think you don't know something how it actually is until you actually experience it.
Yeah.
Because until I actually experienced it, I didn't know either.
For sure.
Like I had to put myself in that. And don't get me wrong, the first second that I saw my ex having sex with someone else in front of me, I did get that initial like, you know, like, but then it took just 2 seconds and I was like, oh wait, no, that's fucking hot. Like, you know what I mean? So it just, you don't really know until you're in it. And then when you're in it, it's like liberating and you're just like, how did I not live like this before? Like we have all of these like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. This means you're gay. Like, no, but then you live in this life and you're just like, none of that shit means anything.
Jen,
now you're thriving in this like sexually liberated world, and you're just like anything is possible. The possibilities are endless.
They definitely are. Have you ever had your testosterone checked? And the reason why I ask
you've asked me this
before. You
before.
have really, really nice skin, and you are built like a fucking outside linebacker. Like you are. Like,
I'm actually not. I'm actually really lean.
That's what I mean. That's what a linebacker's lean. Sorry.
I was. Oh my god, my body's been through so many different like stages. I used to be like Probably 30 pounds heavier than I am now. At one point, when I was like depressed and like living in New York, And recently, though, I haven't been working out that much, and I do still have muscle, so I do think that I have high testosterone for a woman. Yes, I do. Yeah. But I don't really know that plays into any of this, because there's a lot of people in the lifestyle who, there's all different kinds of people in the lifestyle. But
you've met women who don't enjoy sex as much as you, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. In conversations, there are women who are definitely more sexual, but I will say this. I know I'm more sexual when I am in a relationship with someone who enjoys me having sex with other people, because when I do that, it kind of connects us. Like, even just sending the video of me with someone else, it's kind of like this weird thing where it's like he's a part of it.
Sure.
Or like if he sends me a video, it's like I'm a part of it. It's like connecting us. So yes, I am like more I don't just like go fuck people just to fuck people, but I do believe I have the right to experience. If something just happens organically, then I have the right to have this sexual experience.
So this is a really interesting, because I've never been in an orgy. So this is with other dudes. So this is a really interesting thing that I'd asked several women who are in the lifestyle. One of the first questions I asked is like, are you selective about which one of the guys that you have sex with? Now, I've talked to women that are like, we close the door. There's 6 guys, 6 girls in there. I'm having sex with all 6 of them, and I don't even know. It's like that.
I don't believe in that.
Okay, so
though I've had experiences where I've thrown sex parties for my birthday, a couple before that, and it's just like any other party that if you throw a party, not everyone's gonna make out with everyone just because they're there. It's the same thing for a sex party. Like, okay, and there's what I've learned is that there's two kinds of people in the lifestyle. There's people like me who like want a little bit more of a mental connection, a push-pull. And then there's what I call sport fuckers who just fuck everyone because they're there. Just because they're there at the party. And I've had instances where I didn't, there was 3 guys on a bed or 4 guys on a bed and me. And I think I said something along the lines of like, someone fuck me. And the one guy who I didn't want to fuck me, like, put on a condom or something, and I like scooched away from him, and he like left. But he was more, and let's get into this, like, I don't know if this is the higher testosterone in me or what, but I like masculine men, like hairy men, big, like kind of like Jason Momoa type. Like, that is my type. And actually, he's not that hairy, but I love him. He's amazing. Yeah.
He has a lot of hair.
Yeah,
long
like
hair.
On his head. Yeah. But like, I love a hairy chest. Like, I just like manly men. And so this particular guy who went to fuck me was more on the feminine side, which is fine. I just don't want to be fucked by that. And like, to each their own. There's plenty of people at the party, but he was offended. And, it was this big thing like, well, why did you invite me to have fun at the party with people who want to have fun with you? That's just not me.
So here's the issue, right? So I could see, so from a man's standpoint, I'm bringing my wife, hypothetically, to a sex party like this. And the exchanges, I'm going to allow other men to have sex with my wife in exchange.
Back up. Allow. Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
Allow.
Okay. Cool.
Can you reword that for me,
right,
please?
but in the boundary of my marriage, there are boundaries in some people's marriages, right?
There's terms that you agree with.
Okay, so in the terms of my marriage, in this term, there's no other word but allow, because it's terms, and we're both in this marriage. We're both
agree.
Okay, you agree in this situation to she has other sex with other dudes, and I also get to have sex with other women. If there's a dude who comes there and he is just, for whatever reason, his sexual market value is not as high as yours, which Jen, I'm sorry, I just personally think that you're probably the hottest girl at the orgy party orgy you go to. Because my other female friend, she is without a doubt, I've seen the other girls, she is way hotter than the girls that she goes to the parties with. In that situation, it would be kind of a weird situation where you have this one dude who nobody wants to have sex with. And I wonder if that has ever happened.
That does happen.
So explain
sometimes.
that. That's the point I'm trying to get to.
It's just like, it's just part of what happens sometimes. I will say there was this one time after a sex party, Kinky Rabbit. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a pretty big sex party in LA. The sex party was great, but then after 4 couples, so 8 people total, went back to the hotel. At the Edition, just like till 4 p.m. the next day, we're on like G and Molly, and just everybody's fucking everyone. We were all so hot, and we kept saying the whole time, like, everyone is so fucking hot here, because everyone was just so hot, and everyone wanted to fuck everyone, and we were talking about it, because there is those awkward moments sometimes where like one couple or just one person in particular, just like, you know, some people aren't gravitating towards that person, and it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like, there's a type for everyone.
For sure.
You know, and I just think it's just going to happen. It's not something that you can really avoid. Yeah,
that's what other friends of mine have told, that they've gone to swinger events and then they just find the like 4 hottest couples and then they spend the entire time with just those 4 couples.
Yeah. My first kinky rabbit was my first 3-way, actually. So my first 3-way was with 2 guys and me. And I was with my ex at the time, and he said, go find a guy. So I went and found a guy at this party.
What's that like? So just imagine that, the audience is here. You walk up to this guy. What are the words that come out of your mouth? Are you naked when you come?
At a sex party.
I understand that. But are you naked when you're asking the guy?
I feel like the girls typically wear lingerie to these events, and the guys either wear suits, or if there's a theme, you dress in the theme. So I forget. I think I probably had lingerie on at that time.
Did you grab him by the hand and just say, you're coming with me?
No,
or did
we just kind of like looked at each other, and you like kind of know. Like when when there's like a spark or a connection or like that electric whatever. And so we just like went into this room, and like I purposely went right in front of my ex, and this guy starts like doing me from behind, and my ex is watching, getting so hard, turned on, whatever. My ex comes and puts his dick in my face, and I have this guy from behind me and my ex's dick in my face. When this guy's
did they high five?
No.
There was not an Eiffel Tower?
No,
so it's not an official Eiffel Tower.
It's more just like hot. Like, and even the guy, he's still my friend to this day, Matt. Like, he texts me all the time, like, oh my God, that was so hot. Like, I was just thinking about that. And like, it's just so hot to him. And so, then my ex, when this guy's done, he comes around and finishes me from behind as well. But like, that was my first 3-way at the sex party. Like, it was fun.
All right. So the first time we met, I don't know if you remember, it was a Zoom call. It was you, me, and Kayla Buffett.
Yes.
And Kayla is married to a woman. And so she's bisexual. She likes women and she likes men. Mm-hmm. And I usually date bisexual women, so me and multiple women. So it was funny because you had mentioned this, while you're in this lifestyle, you're not attracted to women sexually. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because Kayla and I were looking at each other the whole time during the podcast, your podcast, and we're like, no, you should try it. Women are great. Women are fucking great. Yeah. And it was really interesting because then I talked about this with Claudia Fajal, and she was like, if I'm going to have a threesome with a girl, she needs to enjoy me as well, not just my husband. So
I would agree with that. Yeah. I think that for the most part, you want to be included. It's not just like, unless there's a kink in that, like, for example, me, I actually enjoy watching my partner have sex with a girl, even if I'm not involved. And that's the difference between me and Claudia. Like, I don't need it to be about me. I don't need to be involved the whole time. Yeah. But I will say that, yes, I am strictly dickly for the most part. And, I'd rather have like 3 dicks that I'm playing with than touch a vagina.
That is exactly what you told us the first time. We were just staring at each other.
I did. I'm just like not drawn to it that way. But I will say I'm sexually curious.
Sure.
I lean into it, and when the opportunity presents itself, like when it's all about pleasure, I've been in orgy settings where it's just really hot, and this girl's like sucking a dick, and her ass is up in the air, and I've just been like really wanting to like just thinking about going to like lick her vagina, but I haven't yet. But I'm like, there's levels to it. The same way that there's levels to it with guys, and I know you don't want to believe me.
No. The first part you just said, I'm right there with you. I've done that. That part I've done.
What part?
Thinking about the thing you just said. I've done that. 100%.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying in the other way. Like, yes. So it's different. Yes, when I am looking to date someone, I've never like been attracted or drawn to women in that way. It's usually just men. It could be my programming. It could just be how I am. It could just be like, this is how I'm born. I don't know, but I will say that I am open to it, exploring it. I've like licked nipples. I've done, and when I'm there and the girls, everyone's really nice, and they usually always ask consent. I'm like, I love when girls are like touching me or doing whatever. Girls can do whatever they want to me. Yeah. I just don't want to personally touch.
Okay, so let me ask you: would you say the majority of the women in the lifestyle would be bisexual?
I think it's like half and half. I know some girls that are like me actually, and prefer men, but will like touch and like just. And I know this is what I hate. I hate when people are like Claudia, like, oh, see, I would hate dating someone like that. Like, well, maybe I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I just, haven't found the vagina that
she needs to go through the Nights of the Caribbean ride and come out the other side and figure out whether or not.
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. Whatever it is, it is. I could be here and, like, 80 and be like, nope, still never touched a vagina and never had that, like, craving. But I'm open to, in orgy settings, when it's all about pleasure and, like, whatever, I'm open to it.
You do believe, though, that sexual preferences could be something you're born with, right?
100%.
Okay, so, and you do understand, like, I think it's personally offensive when I hear people, like, sending their kids to gay camp to try to ungay them. Oh, yeah,
no, that's horrible. So I hate that.
Okay,
I hate that.
So you understand that, like, we're born, we would have a sexual, like, I respect I would respect people to understand I am a heterosexual man and I'm not going to change, just like I would respect if I have a friend of mine who's homosexual, he's also not going to change.
For sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then that's what you're saying.
And that's what I'm saying, is that I don't think I'm going to change.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to wake up one day. I have been in situations where I've been inclined to do things in the moment. I haven't acted on it yet, but I have like nipples or like whatever, because it's not just about the sexual act. It's about like what's going on behind it. Like my friends, they're a swinger couple, and they go out to bars and they say they're doing the Lord's work.
Yes.
Which is they turn regular couples into swingers.
Got it. That's the Lord's work.
They are doing the Lord's work.
Yes.
And so
I was talking to the Lord. He was like, yeah, that's
in a setting like that where they had this couple that they had their eye on for like a really long time. And she was a younger girl and like she was really enjoying herself. And in that moment, I just felt like being a part of it and like being a part of that journey and like touching her nipples and like whatever. And like, because it was all about pleasure and it was just awakening and fun, and like there's different levels to it. It's not just like you're hetero so you can't do anything. No, it's like a case-by-case basis. It's just like until you throw yourselves into that situation, like you won't know.
So just to reiterate, you are comfortable with a threesome, 2 women and a man. You're just not attracted to women.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's
I prefer 2 dicks, but yeah.
Right, got it. I talked to a friend of mine just 2 days ago. She had a four-way, she had a foursome. And she said she was not comfortable having sex with the other guy, but the guy she was with had sex with her and the other girl, and the other guy just watched, and it was similar to what you had mentioned before. Mm-hmm. Again, look, everything. And the thing is, you're right about the stigma thing, because I don't remember in the 90s and the 2000s this many people be open about being cucked. I've been approached.
It's so unfortunate.
I've been approached on a few occasions by couples like they want to watch me have sex with the wife in front of them. I have not said yes, but I've been approached.
Be a bull. Why not?
Okay, all right, but it's just an interesting thing. So now let's get into this. You talked about stigma of a sex worker. We've talked about this before. There's a lot of stigmas. For instance, everyone thinking every girl on OnlyFans is doing boy-girl. Even some of them do, some of them don't. The fact that there's a stigma about it. There's a stigma we talk about frequently on this show. It's a really sad thing that happens here in Las Vegas is that if a girl does that and then she's sexually assaulted, when she goes to the cops, they don't take her seriously. Yeah. That's a big problem I see here specifically, more so here than any other city I've lived in before. I know girls specifically like, what am I going to tell them? I work at the Rhino. They're not going to listen to me.
Right.
So it's one of these weird situations that's happened. Can you talk specifically about some of the stigmas that you talked with Swedish Bella about this? Can you talk about some of the stigmas?
For sure. So as far as stigmas are concerned, when it comes to OnlyFans, I mean, let's be honest. Let's just bring it back to basics. If we're going to just judge people right off the bat because they're doing something that maybe we wouldn't do or we don't understand, that's just an insecurity or an uncomfortability talking about sex or being sexual. It's usually something that's an insecurity. But everyone on OnlyFans does not do the same thing. Sure. I know girls that cook topless, and that's like the furthest they'll go, the most explicit thing they'll do. And I know people who are flat out porn stars and do like scenes. And I know people like there's, everything in between. Me personally, I put my real life content up on OnlyFans. So if I have a hookup from last night and it's real and he's cool with me filming, he's like, yeah, just don't get my face in. Like, I'll put that up.
Yeah.
So, there's all different levels to it. But yeah, I mean, as far as the stigma is concerned, it's just, it sucks. It sucks because women are considered dirty or wrong or, their body count or whatever. But it's like, I'm doing the same thing as you. I'm just choosing to put it, we all have sex. I'm just choosing to film mine. Yeah. So there's really no difference between you and me. Like, at the end of the day, I think I'm kind of a genius because my whole goal is to just get paid to be myself, whether that's on my podcast or whether that's living my life sexually or whatever, like I'm going to talk to people anyway. I'm going to have these conversations anyway, and I'm going to have sex anyway. So why not just profit off of it? I'm just living my life and getting paid for it. So, I mean, you can judge me all you want, but at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is one of the things I admire the most is like you talked about the normalizing. So there's different things you talk about normalizing on your podcast. It's not just like cuckolding, but there's other stuff about, I think you said hooking up with your friends or something like that. There was different stuff that you came up with.
Open relationships, anything that's like non-traditional or taboo. So like there's all different kinds of relationships that you could have. You know, there's open, there's poly, there's whatever. I think the mistake that a lot of people make is we put labels on things and then we're like, it has to be that way. It's like, no, I can say I can be this way now and I can evolve into something else, and then I can be like, you know what, that's not for me, and I can go back, or I can keep going with it. Like there's so many, we have to stop just labeling things, because if we don't understand it, if we've never experienced it, you don't know, and you don't have a right to judge. You really don't.
You said when you were younger you were inspired by porn stars?
In a way. So
which do you remember which porn stars? Like, so here's the thing, a lot of people don't realize. So before OnlyFans, some of the most beautiful women on the planet were doing porn.
Yeah.
Like not to say that girls now, some of them are pretty, but back then, like literally these girls would have been Ford models, but they were doing porn because there was no this was a way, the girls were having multi-million-dollar contracts back then.
Right.
And you weren't seeing the bootlegging. We didn't have the internet like we do, like we're talking about late 80s, early to mid 90s, up until we get to like the Pam and Tommy Lee thing. Then all of a sudden we start seeing the bootlegging and all the free stuff happen. And then the margins on pornography just like plummet after that until we get to OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And so back then, if you go back and look like Chasey Lane and what's her face? Who's the biggest porn star in the world? I forgot her name right now. She's from Vegas. I can't remember. Jenna Jameson. Like Jenna Jameson is objectively gorgeous when you saw her back then. And so when you saw those things, like I don't think it's the same thing now. Like a lot of those girls would be on OF, or they'd be like a model.
But you know what? It was never the beauty of the woman that did it for me.
Okay.
It was the situation.
Yes.
It was like her getting pleasure. It was like what I learned from porn early, like, because we're all like curious when we're younger. We're like, ooh, what is that? And I like, you know, it was like the situation. It was how into it she was. It was how she was getting pleasure and getting off. Like all of these things inspired me because I was never taught, like, yeah, you can have pleasure. My mom wasn't like, here's a dildo, like, go figure it out. Guys have it easy. They just jerk off. And it's
Could you imagine if dad was like, here's how you jerk off, son? I'm sure there's some dads out there that do that, but mom was like, hey, here's a dildo.
Well, it's just more acceptable for guys. Like, you know, they put in the sock, like, whatever. But
okay, so it's more acceptable for guys, less acceptable for guys to talk about it. Like, I this is one thing I've noticed from, like, being in a football locker room, being in a U.S. military officer, and then managing a strip club. When I was managing a strip club, that locker room, there was nothing they wouldn't talk about. They would go vile in every possible direction, talk about their vaginas and things that hurt and this and that and the other. I have never, like, how's your dick doing today, John? Like, oh, my dick's doing great. Like, men generally don't do this.
Maybe they should talk about it.
Okay, I'm pointing out
that's the same way I think people like are so hush-hush about talking about money. Like, why not just talk about it? It doesn't like mean like your worth is based off of it. Like, I think we should just normalize talking about everything.
Yeah, I think the problem is bragging about money. I think that what's really good is teaching other people how to make money. I think that's a great thing to talk about. But talking
about it and knowing that it's like not, your worth isn't based on it, and we should talk about it, especially if you want to like get further. I think sometimes we're so insecure to even like talk about it, or like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's stigmatized too.
Yeah, that's definitely something else.
But yeah, you're right in that, like, for guys, it's a little bit. Girls can get away with talking about more.
Men will insult each other more, and they will go at each other, and like sometimes even physically like do shit to each other. You know what I'm saying? Pull pranks or whatever. But it's very rare that it's like, man, how did you feel when so and so broke up with you?
Yeah, that's because they don't have as good emotional intelligence as women. We are any species. Yeah. The woman is more emotionally intelligent, whether it's dogs, whatever the case may be. Like, it's just we're more tuned into our feelings, and you know, we kind of have to be more aware because we don't have the physical whatever. So if we're walking down an alley, like, we have to be more aware of what's going on around us.
That's exactly right. So to speak to your point from an evolutionary standpoint, women would have more to lose if they had sex with the wrong dude. And so because of that, women are more attuned. There's studies that show women are more attuned to being able to tell when men are lying than the opposite, than the other way around. Sure. Because evolutionarily,
unless your parents are narcissists like me and you just flock to guys like that. Like, nice guys don't get me wet. unfortunately. I'm working on it. I'm learning to like what's good for me. But because I was like brought up in a household with my mom is a breadwinner, she's a lawyer, badass, you know, Jersey, whatever. My dad worked very hard, and like they were, you know, I would say equal partners, but my mom is just so narcissistic, and like I was the oldest of four, so I got the brunt of her isms, for lack of a better word. When she started getting sober, when she got sober, this was 12 years ago. I think 12. Why is 17? I don't know. Something. Let's say 15 years ago, she got sober. She changed. She started to change, get more empathy. And so when I find these men that are narcissistic, because my mom changed, I'm like, oh, he'll grow out of this, he'll change. But that's just never the case.
Do you know where a lot of this comes from? It comes from Walter White, Tony Soprano. It comes from Gregory House. It comes from what's his name on I forgot, on Mad Men. I forgot what the main character's name is. We watch these people on television who are psychopaths, and then they go back and they love their kids. And we start believing that this is the psychopath who loves his kids, and like this is or he's the evolved psychopath, and this is not a real human archetype. Humans like Tony Soprano don't actually exist. They are either psychopaths from the beginning and the end and do not feel any remorse for murdering other people, or they love their kids and do feel remorse.
Well, I mean, I've done a lot of research on narcissism since my last breakup.
Hold on. So let's talk about this real quick. So as far as MPD, you believe your mother was narcissistic, but not a narcissist.
So she has the ability to have selective. So what I've learned about narcissists is that they have selective empathy. They have the ability to turn it on. Like in group settings, if they want to turn it on and be that charming, nice guy.
Yeah, but that's not real empathy, though. That's a pretend empathy.
It's pretend, but
so
they know how to.
So you think she had pretend empathy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think that, I'm not sure, I think there's levels to narcissistic personality disorder.
Well, there's levels to narcissism. Narcissism personality disorder means I have a problem, I've lost my job,
Correct.
or I've done something horrible. Now I've gone to see a therapist. My therapist is now
so maybe not NPD. I mean,
NPD.
I'm not an expert, so I can't diagnose, but I will say she has severe narcissistic tendencies.
Okay.
To the like right before MPD, but has the ability to have empathy.
But you think this changed after she got sober? Because this is another thing that happens when people become chemically addicted. They also, so a higher evolved feature of the human brain is empathy. It is one of the for instance, lizards do not feel empathy. A higher evolved function of human brains, some primates do as well. So lower forms of animals can't feel empathy like we do. So again, if you get addicted to cocaine or some other narcotic, one of the first things that goes is the higher forms of thinking, which would be empathy. And so you'll see, if you guys have ever seen someone who becomes grandiose and very ungrateful when they start doing blow, that this is the whole, you know, trope about the Hollywood fucking actor who's doing cocaine, like, get me some fucking coffee. That's a real thing. The empathy goes away once you get addicted to alcohol, you get addicted to fucking other drugs.
And it's very easy, especially for empaths like myself, to get addicted to the narcissist, because we want to believe that there's good in this person. We see the good in people. And it's I was doing research, and you know, the same way that you would have a cocaine addiction in your brain when you break up with a narcissist, the empath, the brain literally does the same exact thing as going through cocaine withdrawals.
Sure, yeah.
It's so interesting. I find it so interesting.
Yeah, because I forgot if it's serotonin or dopamine that you get when you start using cocaine, and then you lose that when you start feeling the validation from the narcissist.
Yes.
When somebody gaslights you or love bombs you and then takes it away, then each successive validation you get from them means so much more to you.
But that's like the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's like they breadcrumbed you into coming down this road.
But because my mom, I dealt with that my whole life, so I have a very high tolerance for dealing with this stuff. Whereas some people would be able to just be like, oh, hell no, like, bye. I have this tolerance where I can take the abuse for a really long time. Yeah. And that's not to say it's okay. And I'm learning boundaries and saying no and like not allowing that energy in my life. But yeah, that's kind of why people like myself get sucked into it for long periods of time. And when people are like, well, why didn't you leave? Especially like when there's physical abuse. Yeah. Well, why didn't you leave? At that point, you are already manipulated and trauma bonded, like a cocaine addiction in a sense. So it's so hard to leave.
My last guest, Brandy Andrews, she talked about having where her wires were crossed up and she was confusing violence with love, or she was associating violence with love. It's one of the first things she had to get rid of, was doing that. She's like, she would literally search for not violence, but she would search for like physical hostility with people. And when they didn't respond, she was like, well, this guy doesn't love me. And she had to work her way out of that.
That's so interesting. You know what that reminds me of? When I was younger in dance class, I had an orgasm. And I wasn't even using my hands. We were doing like this. I was 7 years old. We were doing this ab exercise. My legs were crossed, going up and down, and I like felt this sensation. It's like, ooh, what's that? So obviously I go home and try to recreate it because I'm like, what is that? So every time my parents would piss me off, I would go up to my room, grab my bedpost, cross my legs, lift them up and down in like a very small motion, like give myself an orgasm, like as a release, because they would piss me off. And I was in a toxic household, and it was my release. It's kind of like a guy jerking off, like when you're mad or like whatever. It's just like to get a release. So I actually associate orgasms to being treated like shit.
Got it.
It's true. I still think about things that make me mad sometimes orgasm.
The thing that helped me, because I've had to deal with this situation before, where I'm dealing with a narcissist or someone who I suspect is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Is understanding that there's a difference between a bad person and a psychopath. And most people don't understand this, again, because we confuse when we look at Walter White or Tony Soprano, we start thinking, again, he loves his wife, but he commits murder. No, it's one way or the other. And so now what happens is, when I come to that realization, a lot of people are like, so for instance, somebody suffers from PTSD, parents mistreated them, or like, for instance, someone is so desperate that they start stealing. You're like, well, this person has some mental disorder. No, there's outside stimulus in their life that has caused them to do bad things. They're not a bad person, but they've been caused to do bad things. A psychopath is not only is he a bad person, he was never capable of good. It's a situation where like so you have neurochemical pathways that allow you to feel empathy. Psychopaths can't be healed to feel empathy because those neurochemical pathways simply fucking don't exist.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for people to grasp. It literally is like having an arm amputated and being like, okay, go through therapy and grow an arm.
It's really hard. It's really hard to grasp that.
Yeah.
Especially because when you are in love with someone who either has narcissistic tendencies or is a narcissist, you know, the hardest part for me was after getting outside of the relationship and, you know, the emotional brain fog is gone and I can see clearly now. The hardest part for me was like, oh shit, that wasn't real for you at all. That was a game for you.
None of it was real.
Time. You were literally just using me.
I've literally said that. None of this was real for you. Yeah.
You were literally using me the whole time. And that gets me because I don't know how to, like, I'm such an empathetic person that I could never do that to somebody.
Yeah.
But only somebody who doesn't understand how to feel real feelings, I think, could do something like that. So that's why I'm actually convinced my ex is a narcissist.
Hey, so I'm looking at camera here. Those of you who literally think you can pick out narcissists and psychopaths when you meet them, you can't. I don't give a fuck who you think you are or how good you, unless you have long experience with this and have talked to this person multiple times. When she talked about falling in love with a narcissist or falling in love with a psychopath, again, how does this fit in evolution? Well, there had to be somebody who was willing to go to the other tribe and bash everybody's skull in the middle of the night and not have nightmares about it. So that's where psychopaths fit as far as in an evolutionary standpoint. But if people keep falling in love with them, for instance, if you could just tell when someone's a psychopath, there'd be no more psychopaths.
Yeah.
We would breed them out of existence. Psychopathy is genetic. So that's the reason. So for those of you who are like, no, I figured this out. The second thing I want to say is, about 75% of you ladies who are like, I dated a narcissist, you didn't. You dated a dude who wanted to cheat, or you dated a guy where you put him in a situation where, you know, he didn't want to be monogamous, and then you tried to make him monogamous, and then he cheated on you, or he actually, I've seen this happen before, where a guy straight up says, I don't want to be in a monogamous relationship with you, and then he doesn't change for her, and then she calls him a narcissist. Because he doesn't want to do what you want to do does not make him a narcissist. You need to understand, because you were not validated, that doesn't make someone else have a cluster B personality disorder. That word gets thrown around so much. That's the reason. One of the things I want to do on this podcast is understand one of them is a neurochemical disorder, a personality disorder, and the other one is a shitty dude who just fucked your sister. Those are two different things.
Very different. Very different. And what I will say about the narcissist is it's hard to spot in the beginning because they don't know how to, they have no sense of self. They don't know how to feel. So what they do is they mimic everything you do.
Yes.
They watch you. They're expert manipulators, and they will watch and observe, see what you need, see what you want, and give you that in the beginning, and until it's a couple months in. And then when they got you right where they want you, and you think they're this amazing person, you have so much in common. They will rip the rug right out from underneath you, take everything away. And so I will tell you like stories, and they're great. And this is the difference between someone who just cheated on you and a narcissist. I was in an open relationship with my ex. He cheated and lied anyway.
That's insane. Like we've talked about that on this podcast.
Open relationship.
This is one of the rules of this podcast. I don't judge people, but if you're a dude and your girl brings women home and you cheat on her, fuck you.
Seriously.
Like you are ruining it for the rest of us. I have no patience for dudes who do that. Anyway,
I remember we had a conversation once, and you said you were so grateful for your ex because she would bring women home.
Oh my God!
And like you were so grateful.
And if I wanted to break up, I would break up. I wouldn't cheat on her.
Exactly.
That's fucking madness to me.
So let me tell you the story. There's this one Canadian girl. He's on a trip in Mexico for his friend's birthday. He texts me. He goes, I think I'm going to have sex with one of the girls in the house. Cool. Thanks for letting me know. Have fun.
Yeah.
Easy. Like a month later, whatever, we're back in LA, and I see this girl's name, like WhatsApp call him because she's Canadian, and I'm bringing him to the airport to Miami. I'm going to drop him off at the airport. I was like, oh, why did she call? Oh, nothing. I don't know. Nothing. And then she starts texting him. I'm like, are you meeting her there? And he's like, no. She's just sending me a picture from my friend Jeff, or like whatever, of her friend. Lies. So, I'm intuitive. He starts walking the plane, and I send him a text, like a paragraph, and I'm just like, look, it's not working out, I think. And it was heartfelt because I love this guy, but it's like, there's so many red flags. And all he says is, you're right, we're better as friends. Blocks me on Instagram. The girl's in Miami, the Canadian girl. Yeah. So if I had not broken up with him, he wouldn't have put her tits all over his story. Yeah. But he did, and all my friends told me about it. I had gotten my nipples pierced earlier that week, and I was so happy, and we were like playing with him. He gets her nipples pierced, puts her tits all over his story. And like, this just goes to show, if I didn't break up with him, he would have seen her there and just not told me about it. But he was mad at me, so he decided to just flaunt it all over. Like, that is I think, a narcissist.
It could be, yeah, definitely. It could be.
That is narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you lie, what Steve Harvey says, you lie when the truth will do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the worst, right? That's one of the things. It's very difficult for a lot of men. I think the thing that happened for me specifically was being in so many burning airplanes, right? So many situations where I thought I was going to die in an old Cessna 172 back in Texas when I was in the Air Force. That I got to the point where I was like, whenever I would date a girl, I'd be like, no, I'm going to tell you the truth because I may die tomorrow. And so I would say straight up, I was like, I am comfortable with a monogamous relationship or I'm not, and I'm going to tell you this is how things are going to be. And if you want to see me and other people, that's fine. You're not going to be my girlfriend. That's just the rule that I set. That was the if-then statement for my life. Other people have different if-then statements. Yeah. And maybe, dude, I don't know. Maybe I'll be 60 and I'll be married and be like, yeah, let's go to a swingers resort. Right. I don't know. Yeah, but right now, I don't feel that way.
And that's what I'm saying. And like in our situation, all he had to do was say, hey, I think I want to meet this girl in Miami for the weekend. How do you feel about that? I would say, yeah, you know what? That's fine. Let me make my own plans for this weekend so that I feel good and like whatever, and you can go do your thing. But he didn't. He lied about it, and like that's just it boggles my mind why someone would do that.
Bro, you get 0 stars. Bro.
0.
You get a unsatisfactory. I have no empathy for dudes who do that. I'm sorry. Just break up with her. She's bringing women home to you. Screw you.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this? So there's an issue that I've seen where, because I have a lot of female friends who maybe occasionally we're intimate and they've gone through some kind of trauma and they want me to do things that are insane sounds judgy, but like crazily like
violent,
rough, extremely violent. I have one friend and I would rather her be doing it with me than doing it with someone else, with her abusive ex-boyfriend. And the stuff she wants me to do, I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, you understand, I will never do this to you in public. I would never, ever do these things. And if someone had walked in on us, I would be going to jail.
Do they turn you on doing the things as well?
Sometimes. The problem is that at first, no, but when I saw how happy she was and no one was hurt, I'll just say one of the things, like they wanted full-on rear naked jiu-jitsu chokes to the point that they were passed out. And I've had multiple women ask me for this, and I was just like, one of these situations where I'm like, man, what is going on? Like, okay, I'll do this for you, but what is going on for the fact that I have to do this? I've had women ask me to punch them in the back. I've had women ask me to force their head up against glass walls. I've had all this kind of stuff where if you had walked in on me, you'd be calling the fucking cops, and the things that they want me to say to them. I've had a woman straight up tell me, she's like, I need to feel like you're going to kill me. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
But she goes, I need to seriously feel like you're going to kill me. And I was like, Jesus, man, what is going on? And I'm scared because on one hand, I'm like, I'm your friend, and I would rather you be doing this here with me, where I'm not going to hurt you, than with this other dude who broke your fucking eye socket. Because that's exactly what happened. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm like, why is it like it's getting to the point where? And here's the other thing. Casually, I'll meet a new girl and I'll bring up some of this stuff, and I've never heard like, oh, that's crazy. It's like, yeah, let's try that. Almost every time they're like, yeah, let's try that. I'm like, what? Really? And it feels like the Overton window, or like how far this is going is like, it doesn't seem like it's coming back the other way.
I'm not sure if it was you or someone else who told me this, but you were saying that, or someone was saying that when the excitement is up, people get more aroused.
Of course.
Okay, so whether it's
that's a function of neurochemicals, adrenaline, and blood flow.
So whether it's excitement or just like heightened emotions, the heightened emotions is what gets people off. Sometimes we're like, it's hot. And I think because women have like been suppressed or whatever in society, and like we live in a man's world and like whatever, it's like so fucking annoying that these men think that they could do whatever, but it's also in the bedroom kind of hot because it's like that high of like, who the fuck? But it's like that high, you know? So it's kind of in that setting, that euphoric moment, it's a turn on. And I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah, at least for me. I believe you. That's where it stems from. I think the problem is when it gets outside the bedroom. I've told it to several women. I'm like, I need you to understand that if this is the level of abuse that you want on a regular basis, I'm never kicking you out of my car. If you punch me, I'm walking away. I will never call you a whore in front of your friends under no circumstances. And unless you have a gun to one of my relatives, I'm not hitting you. So like that's why I tell them, I'm like, I'm not involved in this. And
at least you're not like my ex and hit me and then just would never admit it.
He'd never admit that he hit you?
Never.
Okay,
so like once I like went to grab his phone,
yeah,
he took my head and slammed it into the concrete. And I'm just like, and then stood over me with like this smirk, like, you deserve this.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with narcissist on that one.
Exactly. Yeah. I am telling you.
Yeah.
And then there were other occasions too, like we were in Miami, a separate Miami trip, and he was with this girl the day before. They had went to a festival, and he had told me about it, and it was fine. But the only thing I said was, "Can you come, please? When I get in, come. I want to sleep with you."
Yeah.
And he didn't. He stayed out. And so he's sleeping the whole next day. We're in Miami. It's like 5 p.m. and like I want to go out. We're in Miami on vacation on like a 2-day trip. So I just go to like gently like, "Hey, wake up," or like, "Let's go out." He whacks me, gives me a bloody nose. Wait, narcissist. Wait, just wait. Gives me a bloody nose. I'm crying. I go, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is 2 nose jobs. Like, seriously." But like, then packs up all his shit. Doesn't say sorry. Packs up all his shit. I'm the bad one. I'm the bad one because I wanted to go out. Packs up all his shit. Goes to go out. I go, "You're really gonna leave me here like this?" Then he starts crying, making himself the victim, saying, "I'm so unhappy," blah, blah, blah. Like, and then my dumbass, like, consoles him and ends up hugging him when he's the one that gave me the bloody nose. Like, what the fuck? Narcissist.
Yeah.
That is a narcissist.
I think one of the other problems is this, right? David Buss has this statement at the end of one of his books. It's really controversial. He's like, there wouldn't be so many narcissists if women wouldn't sleep with them, right? And it's like, because the problem is that now you're putting the blame on women, right? And the situation is, the problem that I have is when I see a woman who goes on a date with a really nice guy, and he's everything that would make her happy in the long run, and she's like, she comes back, sees a roommate, and she's like, it was fun, he's cute, but it was kind of boring. And then she goes and fucks her ex, who's toxic as shit, that same night. I feel like you've made the entire world 1% worse. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you're rewarding the behavior of your toxic ex, and you're punishing the behavior of the man who treated you like a gentleman.
But why do we have to like say sex is a reward? Like, why?
For men, it is. I'm sorry, there is no, it absolutely is. For most men. I'm not saying, I'm sure high status men it's not.
But like,
for most men, it's absolutely.
Now you're putting the responsibility of the woman, like, I want to have this hot sexual experience. Like, I don't give a fuck who it rewards. I want to have this toxic, good sex. And now you're telling me that it's my fault because I have the right to have that experience.
Well, I agree with you. There is no defining. There's absolutely no argument to this. 26% of men have had 0 sexual partners in the last year in the U.S. There's no corollary for women, involuntarily. And there's no corollary for women. For the vast, vast, vast majority of men, yes, sex is absolutely a reward. You should read the book "Why Women Have Sex" by Dr. Buss.
Yeah, but okay, but just the fact that you know that, the fact that you are saying it's a reward, like you are now aware.
Yeah.
And it's conscious, and you can consciously say sex is not a reward.
No,
sex is an experience.
I don't.
Sex is whether it's like spiritual or just fucking hot, like that is the experience. You can choose to make sex not a reward.
Jen, you know, I live here in Las Vegas. Obviously, I don't feel like sex is a reward. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
when I say you, I mean men.
Yeah, for most men, the cashier at Walmart, sex is absolutely a reward for that guy. I don't care what you can talk about. What you don't live his experience. His experience is, as soon as he got overweight, didn't get a good job, and he got into his 40s, his prospects for having sex with anyone dropped almost to zero. The number of men who I've heard somebody say the majority of men who's ever been bored died a virgin. Like it's crazy when you realize how much desperation there is at the bottom.
I think the men, though, need to go to therapy and reprogram the way they think.
What about the men, like, literally who have no option, like no upward financial stability whatsoever, have no options? Men are far more likely to suffer from autism. And there's like millions of these desperate men. That's where these incel groups come from. You talked about this before with one of your other people. We talk about these hateful men. I agree that they shouldn't be hateful. The problem is they still exist. You can't act like they don't exist, and that we're just going to wave them away and pretend like they don't exist because they're not part of our belief system. The fact of the matter is these men are desperate, and they're dealing with horrible shit. And then what's happened is they get put into a society where, and listen, I'm a beneficiary of the society. I'm not a victim of it. Where there's a few men who have multiple fucking options and a vast majority of men who have zero. In fact, when you go to places like India, you have massive amounts of men who don't have any sex with any women other than a prostitute, and then you have multiple men with hundreds of wives. Not hundreds of wives, but hundreds of different partners. And so you see, it's not for a woman, sex is her choice. She can choose to have a sexual partner. She can actually be far, far, far less attractive than you, Jen, and still have sex any night she wants.
Totally.
And it's not the same way for men.
Women can go out any night and have sex.
So if you understand that there's no equality there, then you understand sex is a reward for low status men. It just is. There's no way to get around that. It's just for the majority, and that's the majority of men. And by the way, not only is the majority of men, Jen, I still
don't believe in it. I still don't think it's my fault that if I want to have toxic sex, I still don't think it's my responsibility to not have sex with narcissists because that's going to create more of them or give them more rewards.
You don't think it's rewarding bad behavior because you have sex with a narcissist? That's a completely. I wasn't trying to argue that point, but that's interesting you bring that up.
No,
I do. Personally,
because I want that experience.
For two things. For my own personal self morality, I do believe it's better for me to be with people who treat me better.
Totally.
Okay?
Yes.
Number one.
I believe
Number
that
two,
too.
I think it's better for the world for me to treat good people good and bad people bad. That's what I believe. So now I'm saying from you's standpoint, a hypothetical woman, she is now going out and accepting bad behavior from one motherfucker and for the other guy who's treated her like shit, who's treated her really well, she's putting him off.
I don't think it's so black and white, and we all have different lessons and different in our journey we have different lessons. Now, knowing someone is a narcissist, no, I would not have sex with them because they're a horrible person. But when I wasn't aware that my ex was a narcissist and I wanted that experience, yes, I wanted that hot, toxic dick.
Do you feel more responsible, however, for your attraction now?
Yes.
Because I do. Because I personally
spot them everywhere. I think everyone's a narcissist now. Now I'm almost jaded, but it's good because I'm getting better at putting boundaries up now. And I don't know. I think it's interesting. You said something just now about you think good people should be treated good and bad people should be treated bad.
It's you create a better world for yourself when you do that.
I believe in that.
Yeah.
And I also think recently you posted something about karma, which you said it doesn't exist, correct?
I think you make your own fucking karma.
So I believe in that. And here's what, I do believe that everything is energy. I think the word karma is kind of what taboo or whatever, but I think everything is energy. So in the same way, and this is actually quantum physics, so you would like it. Like attracts like.
Okay.
So if you're putting like thoughts out into the universe, then you will attract that. And hear me out. It's the same way that before a gymnast goes and does her routine or whatever, she visualizes it in her mind. When they close their eyes and they stand there, they're literally envisioning it, because when you've been there in your mind, you will be there in your body again. It's easier to get there.
I think that's
and recreate.
I think that's psychology.
Moment.
I don't know that, and I think that's evolutionary psychology. I don't know if that's quantum physics, though.
Well, I believe it to be quantum physics, and it's inexplainable, but I will tell you that it works because I had a vision board.
Quantum physics is explainable, though.
Okay, well, you would know more than me, but what I'm saying is maybe energetically some of this is not explainable, because I had a vision board, and when I was younger I put like a Nick City dancer on it. I put all of these things that I wanted, and I literally manifested everything that I wanted. Sure. So I do believe in the power of like putting like thoughts out there and visualization and manifestation and that. I don't know about karma, but I do think like if you're a narcissist and you're constantly like treating people like shit, like eventually, yeah, like your world is just going to be shitty and like you're going to die alone.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would argue, or maybe silly people would, the idea of visualization. It's one of the most powerful things. The first time I'd ever heard of visualization was the playmaker, number 88 for the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Irvin. He would talk about, they would ask him, he was a first-team All-Pro wide receiver. They won 3 Super Bowls. And they asked him, like, what do you do? He's like, I know where I'm going to be on the field. And number 8, Troy Aikman knows where I'm going to be, and he's going to put that ball there. Even if he can't see me, he knows I'm going to be there. And so I would visualize beating my man off the line of scrimmage. I would visualize these things. I'd never heard that before. I was like, no, you just have bigger muscles and you just win. And then I didn't realize that until later on when I started. Same kind of thing. It's like there's certain people I wanted to network with. There was a job I wanted in the U.S. military. There were certain things, and this podcast was also something. Like a lot of times rehearsing this in the shower, thinking like
I do that too.
what this was going to be like and what these topics were going to be like. And I wrote down all these people. And like the funny thing is, my list for who my guests were going to be, I have so far exceeded that list. Like as far as like the people that have come on, that I've never in a million years would imagine Dr. Buss would have come on.
Right.
Like that's incredible to me, right? And then the other people who've reached out to come on.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So visualization for sure, but I think visualization is a function of psychology. I don't think it's a function of energy necessarily. I think when I smile at you, I am showing you from an evolutionary standpoint, just like, dude, you've seen monkeys, they can smile at one another. Like they can show a positive outcome. I know it's like, okay, she's smiling at me, probably no predators around, probably not about to die, right? That's not energy though. I'm literally seeing something from a psychological standpoint.
But everything is that. So say you do smile at somebody and like make their day or like whatever, and you are smiling and putting out this positive energy. Like I believe that when I was depressed, like that actually manifested in my body. Like I was getting sicker, like all of these things. Like, so I do believe that, and I can't explain this. I won't do this justice. Yeah. But I do believe that there's something to be said about visualization, the frequency you're vibrating at, whether that's like good vibes, doing good to people, putting good out into the world, and that coming tenfold. Because if you're constantly like, and that turning up as like disease in your body and stuff when you're doing the opposite.
For sure, yeah. High cortisol levels, high levels of stress.
Yeah.
Several studies show that causes you to worsens your immune system. So here's the thing. One of the things I loved when you had a discussion with Monica was the idea that the lifestyle is not going to fix your relationship. This is so great because I'm sure you've seen this. I've personally seen this as well. Generally, if I'm in any kind of, I'm polygynous. I'm not polyamorous specifically. Like I just multiple women. In these situations, that's generally something I talk about from day one. It's not something that later on is like, hey, bringing another woman home after 6 months. That's terrible. How
it should be.
It's
if
a terrible idea.
If you know that's what you want on day one, you should say it day one.
So now, but the thing is, I'm sure you've seen the opposite, where it's like they've been married and all of a sudden it's like, how can we fix our marriage? Let's bring some people in. Can you talk about it's not necessarily the best way to fix your relationship?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely not going to fix your relationship. I have had couples reach out to me like after talking about stuff on my podcast, and you know they used to be in the lifestyle and then they had kids and they kind of were removed from it for a while, and they were like, thank you so much for like talking about it because now we're like back in it. So in that case, yeah, I think it could add some spark and like fun to your relationship, but it's not gonna fix a relationship.
Like if you have trouble communicating, having another woman come by is not gonna fix the problem.
Absolutely not. Like the basic communication, respect, all of the things that are necessary for a healthier relationship need to be there first. It's not going to fix shit.
Yeah.
It's actually probably just going to make things worse. If there's already trust that's lacking and a lack of communication, that's just going to heighten the anxiety for the person who's not getting the communication, and it's not going to be good.
Can you talk about specifically when it comes to social media, the way that the female form, for lack of a better term, has been treated how it wasn't. Now, to be fair, TikTok from the gate if you have a boob job and nice butt, you're off the platform immediately. For those of you who don't know or think that I'm exaggerating, just upload some videos of just a girl with just a nice body. Your TikTok will be deleted immediately. I personally think because it's Chinese who are running this, and they don't see that, they don't have the same egalitarian beliefs that we do in this country. In Instagram, for years, you could get away with wearing a bikini. Now we've gotten to the point where having curves and wearing a bikini in and of itself is offensive. Of course it's not. Just for those of you who don't know, wearing a bikini is not lascivious.
Yeah.
Doing lascivious things is lascivious. Wearing a bikini, showing off the fact that you went to the gym every day, is not a sexual act. I know this may be confusing. For those of you up in Palo Alto, for those of you who work at Meta, this may be confusing for you. Wearing a bikini is not a sexual act. It is not her giving permission to have sex with her, because that's what it says in their terms of service, that this is a sexually suggestive act. So guess what? Just because you guys seem to be confused about this, a woman posing on a beach is not sexually suggestive. She's not telling people. And by the way, guess what, Meta? This is going to really blow your mind. You don't get to tell them that they're being sexually suggestive either. That's incredibly bigoted on your part.
Yeah.
Anyway, just want to bring that up.
It is. Yeah.
And going back to this whole thing, what you were saying before, can you talk about how it's changed for you as far as like losing accounts and
yeah, I've lost quite a few accounts just for posting, in a bikini or whatever. And it's frustrating. It's like you have to pay someone to get your account back. You have to like pay a hacker from Turkey.
Hey, how about this, guys? How about the fact that works? If anybody, I know no one from there is watching it. I know multiple women have talked about a hacker from Turkey who can get their account back. How embarrassing is that for you, for your fucking platform, that not only do you take women's accounts away for no goddamn reason, but that some hacker in Turkey can bring it back? What does that say about your platform?
And he's making a lot of fucking money.
What does that say about your platform, that people are buying blue check marks? What does that say about your personal integrity and the integrity of your platform, that's even fucking possible? Like, seriously, like at some point, someone at that company should have some pride. The fact that you can even... Like, the fact that you're taking my account away is bullshit. The fact that I can get it back for a cost?
Yeah.
Think about that, man. Like, seriously, do you want to talk about who should be going in front of Congress? It's the people who are doing this.
It's just, and like, yeah, that too. But to bring it back to the, like, suggestive stuff, it's just, it blows my mind. And that's why I'm so passionate about normalizing taboo topics and normalizing sex and women's sexuality, because, like you said, it doesn't mean anything. Like, if a woman is, like, feeling herself and like confident in her body and like expressing that, like, good for her. Who the fuck cares? Like, oh, it makes you uncomfortable because your dick got hard. Oh, it makes you uncomfortable, this girl, because like she's, worried her boyfriend's looking at it or whatever. Like, it just makes people uncomfortable, but there's actually nothing wrong with someone, a woman, celebrating her sexuality. So I can go on for hours about this, but it's just wrong on so many levels.
Well, I think the opposition is that view of femininity.
Okay, relax. So the kids.
Well, I don't agree.
Okay, well,
I don't agree with you.
Something just sparked in me.
Yeah.
Not you relax, but like the people who don't want their kids to see it.
No, that's not what I meant.
Chill the fuck out.
What I meant is people who are excessively progressive, who believe that view of femininity, with you having long hair, looking extremely feminine with large breasts, that whole thing is offensive to the women who don't look like that, and therefore that's why your images should be taken down off the platform.
But why is it offensive to anyone? Like, people can look how they want to look, so everyone should just be able to look how they want to look.
If you guys have ever been on my MOA calls, you know it would take a lot to offend me. So yeah.
But my problem stems from like the people, and this is mostly like middle America or the South, who's like, they're like religious, and they're like, I don't want my children to see that. Why? Your children should see it. Your children should see sex, and they should just do it when they're ready. Just because they're seeing it doesn't mean that they're going to do it. They should learn about it. And, we can't like stop people like myself from living their best life just because you think that way of life is better, of shielding sex from your kid is better. And it's actually not. And that's why men, maybe like yourselves, grow up to think that like, oh, I don't want to do orgies or whatever, because like, we don't see it. Like, we don't see.
Orgies are great. 2 thumbs up. There's no
other
dicks
in your orgies.
2 thumbs up. Highly recommend. Just no other dudes. But back to what you're saying. Yeah, that's So there's a middle ground, right? Reddit has a not safe for work logo. There's an opt-in 18 and up.
But why isn't it safe for work? Who the fuck cares? We should be talking about sex at work. Why does it? The fact that I have an OnlyFans. No, I'm serious. I'm
sitting there working at a nuclear base, and I'm like, hey man, did you see this on Brazzers?
But it shouldn't be so taboo. It shouldn't be like.
I agree with you, not being taboo.
Because when it gets to the point like, oh, we can't talk about it here, that's when Instagram people think they can take it down. We should be able to talk about it anywhere. Your kid should be able to see it. People working at tech companies should be able to like talk about it. It should just be normalized, because if it was more normalized, we wouldn't be fucking taking it down off Instagram.
Yeah.
The end. Period. Like, it's sex, and it's part of our lives, and we are human, and we are sexual beings, and that is it.
Then let's extrapolate that one level further. Cancel culture, right? So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people I disagree with on the internet. I do not agree with taking away their ability to communicate. Personally, I've said this before, so let's just say I was completely antithetical. Like, I think it was completely irresponsible for Alex Jones to say that Sandy Hook was faked, for instance, right? And there's a judgment for him, $4.5 million he's got to pay back. At the same time, while that's the case, I need to know that someone like that has that opinion, so I'm not fooled. Does that make sense? If I have a political official in my district and I want to vote for him, I would like to know if he doesn't believe in human evolution or if he thinks that the earth is flat. Like, I need to know these things. So for me, obscuring anyone's ability to communicate, I have a problem with. There's a book, one of my favorite books is called Homo Deus by a guy named Yuval Noah Harari. He's a professor of history at the University of Israel. And one of the things he talks about at the end is a religion called Dataism. And the way Dataism works is anything that speeds up the flow of data is good, and anything that slows down the flow of data is bad. His theory is that the reason why the Soviet Union fell was not because communism versus capitalism. It was because the American way of economics allowed information to flow more freely and quicker, and the communist or socialist way of economics did not. And because of that, that's the reason why they eventually collapsed. And so it's a really interesting thing. I'm always for more expression. Yes, is there fake news? Sure there is. Are people saying things that are ridiculous? Of course, there's spoof websites. There's all kinds of fake stuff about the fake. I mean, there's 10 fake Instagram profiles of me right now. Like, of course there's stuff that's fake, but in the end, I think the ability to share is more important. I want to know if somebody has a great idea, but it's also equally important to know that someone has an ignorant idea, that someone is spewing ignorance. I need to see it.
100%.
So I am, again, when I swore into the U.S. military, it says I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. One of those, in the First Amendment, is the right to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. And I support that right for everyone, especially for motherfuckers who I don't agree with, okay? And this is a hard thing for people to do. Instead, what they do is you come on their campus and you say something that's not progressive enough for them, and then they throw apples and fucking oranges and fucking batteries at you, and they kick these people off campus when they say something that is even slight. Like, if you're an evolutionary psychologist and you try to go speak at Harvard, they might hit you with stuff. Mm-hmm. They might physically keep you from going on campus. This sort of mentality not only has every tyrannical government throughout history used this to silence the opposition. Every single one of them. Listen to me, those of you in the cancel culture. Every single tyrannical government has used this. Not only is that the case, after Donald Trump lost his Twitter account, after the whole thing that happened at the Capitol, his Google searches went up because cancel culture doesn't work. So stop doing it. So that's what my main thing. So I wanted to get to you talk about cancel culture because we had a conversation about a very controversial individual who's coming on the show later on this year. What do you think about that specifically, about expression? Because there's some people who'd like to silence you when you start talking about normalizing the stuff.
I believe that obviously freedom of speech I believe in it. I also, like you said, believe in knowing when someone is coming from an ignorant place, or knowing when somebody's actions or words will do harm to a large part of the population.
When someone's ignorant, motherfucker, keep talking. I need to know. Yeah. I need to know.
So the person that you're referring to, like, does very triggering things, says very triggering things, and as a result of it, like, the comments are just insane. Like, people believe it's just like politics. Yeah. People are fighting with each other about it. And so, I mean, yes, at the end of the day, we do all have the right to say whatever we want. Being an empath, I'm just like, how could you say some of those things?
It's crazy.
and be okay with yourself and be okay knowing that you are triggering and doing harm to a lot, mostly female part of the population.
The other thing I think a lot of people get confused with is, like, for instance, there's a lot of dirty, nasty things in evolutionary psychology. Like I call us hairless murder apes. The majority of human existence has been extremely violent. There were 21 species of hominids on this planet. There's only one now. Anyone want to guess why there's only one species of hominid on this planet? Because we kill the other 20. That's the reason why. So people don't understand that. If you don't believe that this is a violent species, go back and look at World War I, World War II, Vietnam. Like, this is an incredibly violent species that you belong to. But part of the thing is, while that is ugly, if I am an oncologist, I study cancer. Does that mean I condone cancer? No. Because I study evolutionary psychology or anthropology, that does not mean I condone the fucking Romans going and killing all the people in Gaul or all the fucking people in England. That is not what I'm condoning. I'm expressing the way things are. And so that a lot of people have this issue where, like, when you study things, again, for those of you who think that Adolf Hitler is so incredibly offensive that we shouldn't learn anything from him, you're a moron. You need the way we don't let that happen again is by studying it. When someone says something ignorant, I want to hear it. Don't silence him.
Yeah. Don't silence it. Are we allowed to say the name of the person, or do you want to not?
I don't care. Yeah, you can say it.
Well, who is it? What's his name again? I don't even know.
You know what? Let's not.
Okay, let's not. But the problem with I have with this guy is, like, oh my God, the narc tendencies up the wazoo, like, and everyone feels that way. And if you don't, like, the entitlement, the grandioseness, like, yeah, this is the right way, and everyone feels that way. I'm just the one brave enough to say it. It's like, you're delusional.
Yeah.
If you believe that.
Okay.
Because people don't see things that way, and they don't agree with you, the majority of people. You are living in your delusional little bubble, and I don't know if it's an act or you actually believe in this, but whatever it is, if you're wanting people to believe that you believe in it. So you are living in this delusional bubble, and that's why it's so entertaining, because you're wrong. Like, people don't act... I'm sure some people think that way, but the majority of people do not.
For sure. I think one of the issues, and we talked about this before, is, like, what is the outlandish stuff that you would be willing to say for a certain amount of money?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then it gets to the point, because, like, once I started this, once you start a 7-figure business and you start realizing that you grow on social media, the crazier the shit that you say, you start wondering, like, what's the line? Now, so for me, there's definitely clearly lines. I'm not going to say shit that's anti-American, and I'm not going to talk, like, I'm very much against Philadelphia Eagle fans. There's, like, certain things that I'm just not going to say. But for me, there's a level, right? But for some other people, it's like, what would you be willing to say for $20 million? I think Alex Jones would be willing to say fucking anything for amount of money if he got enough subscribers. Yeah. And so that's why a lot of this stuff happened. Like, again.
So you think this is just a business tactic?
I don't know. That's just one of the things I bring up. It could be. But I do know that amount of money, we're talking tens of millions of dollars, is at hand. I do know that. And I do know for the majority of the population, that's an amount of money that would get you to sell out your family members. Yeah. So that's the reason why, like, I kind of understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's paying you, like, millions of dollars to believe and say one thing.
People do it all the time. If you don't believe me, look at lawyers that work for the tobacco companies.
People do, like, commercials. And, like,
the lawyers who work for the tobacco companies back in the 1980s. That's an example of, like, people just literally absconding with the truth and just running off with nonsense.
But I think it takes a big person to, like, have a fat check in front of them and be like, you know what? No, like, this is not in line with my
Do you know who else
beliefs.
It would take? A rich person. A rich person could also deny that.
Not always. Some people just are good people and just can't in their soul. Like, there are certain things that even if you paid me millions of dollars, like, I just wouldn't be able to do it, because to me, I'm just so, I feel things so deeply that I want to live in that energy, that good energy.
So let's talk about this from a specific standpoint. There are
I think those are fake people, and I'm like, I pride myself in being, like, a real, like, New York asshole, like, direct, like, and
she's not from the United States, she's from New York. That's what.
And I do think a lot of people here in LA are fake as fuck, and, like, I just think that, I don't know, it takes a fake person to do that. It does.
So I think the other thing is, I say this often, it's the mechanism, not the magnitude, where you may find a truth. Like, for instance, a truth may be that men prefer multiple partners and women choose men who have high status. This is not a truth, but, like, generally these things may be true. What happens is that women then say, this is a truth, therefore fuck men. And men say, well, this is a truth about women, therefore fuck women. And that's where incels grow from. And the problem with that is if someone is an incel, the issue is not you being, that is an issue. The other issue is that you are now stuck in an echo chamber where you're only listening to people remember what I said. If someone's ignorant, I want to hear them. I don't just listen to people I agree with. Right. Okay. I had flat earthers on here. I have had socialists on this podcast. I have several people who are coming on here who say things I disagree with. If you are stuck in an echo chamber, I have the person we're talking about who's going to come on later on this year. When he comes on, I have 3 friends who are hardcore feminists who are probably never going to speak to me again when he comes on. And the reality of the situation is, what I'm going to say to them is, your message about feminism, no one will ever hear, because you're only speaking to people. You're only preaching to the choir.
But maybe they don't care that their message.
One of them's writing a book. They care. The issue is, why don't you come on here?
But maybe they don't care. Maybe that's just part of their personal journey to do that for themselves and for the people who do care.
If you,
I just think we can't say things like that. You don't know that.
If you have a problem with what somebody is saying online,
you have different belief systems.
Don't cancel them.
I agree with that.
Propose a different set of ideas.
Yeah.
And then debate. That's what you're supposed to do, not ask for them to be canceled. I don't necessarily
believe in cancel culture.
Yeah.
I believe in giving the people a chance to grow and evolve, and even if that is their belief, they have the right to have that. But me, a few years ago, am not the same person I am today. If I was canceled for saying or doing something a few years ago, I would hope that someone would give me the grace to evolve and own my actions and apologize and
that's
be better.
That's what's happening to a lot of people. A lot of people that are in their 40s and 30s, they said something that goes off, and it's, you can't, for instance, I've said on this podcast, I think when someone's 8 or 9 years old, they're not old enough to choose to switch genders. I know probably 10 years from now.
You said that? You agree with that?
Yeah. I don't think they're old enough to switch genders when they're 8 or 9. I'm not old enough
but you agree that you can't control your sexuality,
right?
Correct?
No, your sexuality, correct. But
correct.
Do you know your do you know your sexuality before you've gone through puberty?
I wouldn't know, because I've never been in that fucking situation.
Yeah, but you when you go through
I would
puberty,
let my child be whatever they want to be at whatever age they want to be.
At 9?
Yeah, even younger.
I think
if they said at 5, Mom, I want to be a girl, or Mom, I want to be a boy, I would say, okay,
that's fine.
Let's I'll bring I wouldn't really know what to say actually, but I would bring them to a therapist and I would support their journey, because even if it was just a phase, or even if they really did want to make that full transition, I would want to support that.
It's not a phase once you go through the transition, though.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying a 5-year-old, it could be for a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old, you don't know. A 5-year-old, it could be real. It could be everything in every cell in my body is telling me that I want to be a different gender, or it could just be I saw a girl on TV and I want to be it could be either. I support either. Even if it's just a phase, I support it.
We're arguing 2 different things. What I'm talking about is physiological, pre and post-op transitioning. I'm not talking about if you have a child and the child says I want to be a different gender, they can say that, and I will support for sure if that's what they believe. My point is, once we start sticking testosterone in them. My point is, once we start removing organs, that's the point where I don't think you're at 9 years old you're able to do that.
Do people actually go through the full transition at 9? I feel
not only do they do it, they recommend you do it the earlier, because then you don't go through male puberty. They actually are recommending children do this at 9. I don't agree with that. If I get canceled 10 years from that, fuck it. I'll be canceled for it.
You have the right to have whatever opinion you want.
I'm being told by the state of New York that there's a mandate for my 15-year-old child to, get vaccinated. By the way, I'm not against vaccinations, but he's supposed to get vaccinated, and he's supposed to wear a mask. So you can take away his choice when he's over the age of 15. And he has to wait till he's 18 to join the military. But before he's gone through puberty, he can choose to change his gender. I don't agree with this.
Just why do you care? Why do you care? It's not your life. It's this person's life. We don't really know exactly what they're feeling or what they're going through or what, we don't know. So, why do you care so much? Just, let people live.
Because these are minors. I think.
But why do you care?
If someone's 18,
it just feels so controlling. Let people live.
If someone's over the age of consent, I absolutely in favor of them transitioning. They can do whatever they want. I have friends who have done that, and
But who the fuck consent? I had sex when I was 14. Over the age of consent.
So let's talk about this. You should not legally have had sex when you were 14.
Okay, but I did.
Yeah, I understand that. But again, there has to be some moral standard, right? I know for you, you're well, let's not judge. At some point, murder is bad. At some point, people should not be stealing.
Sex is not bad.
Yeah, but sex with a 14-year-old, I think, is.
Well, he wasn't like over age.
Okay, I still think at 14.
He was like a year or two older than me.
I think in general, it's probably a good idea for us to not be having sex at 14.
Oh my God, stop.
Okay.
Oh my God, stop.
All right. I mean, that's your opinion. I
had an orgasm at 7. Who are you to tell me I can't have sex at 14 I want?
I'm saying I think it's inappropriate for people over the age of 18 to be having sex with 14.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that is you're taking advantage of somebody. But if it's like two people like who are similar in age and want to have this experience, like we just at the end of the day, we just can't control people. And I think that's what like people just want to control people so much. And it's like, why the fuck do you care? Just do what makes sense to you in your life and just let people live. And I think we would all get along much better if we just like let people live. It's so fucking annoying.
I think we're getting along about as well as we've ever gotten along. Yeah. So let's talk about this. So you, as a content creator on OnlyFans, have you found that to be an issue when you meet someone as far as dating is concerned? Has this found this to be?
Not really.
Okay.
There are some instances where, I mean, if I can sense right away if you think differently of me because I haven't, and I won't even like date with you.
Sure.
Because of that. But there have been some instances where like a guy can't get it up, or he's like trying to prove himself because I'm on OnlyFans, and he like wants to show his like skills. And I'm just like, let's not. And like that actually happened once, and I just ended up not seeing him again because, you know, it's not about the sex. It's not about like proving yourself to me in that way. It's just about our connection and like whatever. And like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes like you can't get up and that's totally fine. But like it was everything else. It was like I felt like there was an ulterior motive and like
sure.
I don't know. Yeah.
Do you know the mental connection that you feel like you need for sex? You understand a lot of men don't need that.
I don't need a mental connection for sex.
Okay.
Sex can just be sex.
Okay.
Sex can just be hot sex.
So you know, a lot of women say like, Brandy Andrews was like, I can't have an orgasm with somebody that I'm not in a relationship with in love.
Yeah.
And when I was like, you know, there's a lot of women who can. She's like, really? She was like actually stunned by that. She was taken aback. She's like, what? Really? I was like, I know women that can only have orgasms when they cheat. They can't have orgasm with their partner.
Yeah.
Again, you've seen this too. So it's like really different because one of the things that I found is that men, we kind of generally all feel the same way about things. Like if you were like, hey guys, you remember Salma Hayek in Dusk Till Dawn? Who here thinks she's hot? All of us say yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's hot.
Margot Robbie in fucking Wolf of Wall Street. Who? Raise your hand.
She's hot.
100% of men.
There's something just about them. Like they're like, correct. You know, it's yes, their looks, but it's also like this essence.
But for women, it's like, okay, Post Malone.
I think he's hot.
Right, but some girls like, oh, tattoos on the face, I'm not into that. And then there's another one's like, big roided guy. It's like, oh, I love the big mountain roided guy. And then other women are like, no, he's too big. It's like for women, there's some women who hate the fact that I rescue cats and some women who love the fact I rescue cats.
Yeah.
For women, there's way more divergence of what you guys are attracted to. than for men. It's like Salma Hayek. Okay,
Hot or not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So,
well, I think this also ties into like women's ability to multitask, which we're way better at it than you guys, and our emotional intelligence is way stronger. So we actually have the ability and capacity to just like do more, and guys are just more simple-minded and dumber, for lack of a better word. So they're just like, blah, blah, blah. And like,
so many dudes are like, hey, listen, man, just let her talk. I'm not going to get mad.
Well, it's true. I mean,
don't necessarily think that men are dumber.
facts.
I don't think men are dumber. I think as far as emotional intelligence, there are some studies that would show that, yes.
Oh, please. We're way smarter than you, emotionally intelligence-wise.
Yeah, but that's not all of intelligence. When you say dumber.
It's not. There's more kinds of intelligences, for sure. But I'm saying when it comes to that, women are tuned into their emotions, what they want, what they need. They're able to like sort it out and like figure like there's layers to it.
I will say this: if I'm seeing multiple people, there's always like these clues that are in my apartment that I don't see that other women immediately catch.
Like what?
Just stuff this one girl put a pink loofah in my shower, and I like didn't even think there's a pink loofah in there. Like, oh, obviously a girl left this, and the other girl's like, oh, who's your girlfriend? And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like it's there. Or like there's like a small second toothbrush or those hair ties. Girls be leaving those hair ties everywhere, man. Yeah. Just little stuff like that. And I didn't realize. And like when women come over, they immediately can see it. Whereas for me, like it'll just be sitting there and I just don't even notice it. So I do think, yes, in certain instances, that's definitely the case. It's different types of intelligence. Like,
it is different
like
types
I think
of intelligence.
men tend to be better at playing point guard, and women tend to, well, depends. Like there's some WNBA point guards that are pretty good.
See?
And women tend to be really, really, on average, better at certain types of emotional intelligence. We'll just go with that for sure.
Yeah, I think that also women are, you guys are stronger than us. So, and like a lot of women like cater to the male ego to like make you think that you're smarter than you actually are. But like, I don't think that most women actually believe that men are smarter at the end of the day.
This is so great. Do you think there's like a definitive IQ difference between men and women?
Not definitive. But like you said, there's many forms of intelligence. Okay. Like there's so many. And I do think that men can be smarter in some areas. I just think women are better for so many reasons.
Okay. I prefer women. I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
We're just like the better species.
Okay. Better gender. Got it. Yeah. Okay.
The better gender.
Got it. So here's the thing. I ask every guest on here who's done this before, and I don't need like the gory details or whatever, but the progression to decide to do boy-girl on OF. Yeah. There's a transition that happens where you're not doing it and then you are doing it.
Oh, I did it right out the gate.
You did it right out the gate. So can you talk about what was that first time that you decide to do this? Do you feel like your life's going to change? Do you not give a shit? Like, what's it like?
It didn't really bother me or change me at all. Mm-hmm. I've always been pretty proudly promiscuous, and I had all these videos these cheating videos that I had sent to my ex, like built up on my phone. So I was like, why not just put them on OnlyFans and see what happens? People love the cheating thing, and it's all from real life. So, like, I don't know about you, but when I watch porn, I like seeing, like, real life stuff. I don't like the scenes where it's too acted. Like, I like seeing something real.
Help, get my head out of this dryer, please. Johnny Sins, help get my head out of this. Help me.
Oh,
help
yeah,
me.
no, so stupid.
I'm stuck here. Oh, my God. Is this your plumber? Come in here real quick and fix my toilet.
That said, after my breakup, I most of my stuff is from real life, but after my breakup, I just wasn't ready like to connect with people yet. Yeah. Like, so I fucked 2 porn stars for OnlyFans for scenes. So I have done it. I've done the scenes, but it's not something I do. It was more just like, I want this experience and I want good content for OnlyFans, and I just, I don't know. So I just wanted to do it.
So I have a question for you from Monica Holt, and she wanted to ask about, is it Keiran or Keiran Lee?
Yeah, Keiran Lee.
Keiran Lee. She said he reached out to her. So go ahead. Your experience.
Yeah. So I forget who followed. I think he followed me, or maybe I followed him. I forget. He reached out to me first and was like, "Hey, thanks for the follow." And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to like have you on my podcast or do content or whatever." And so we ended up doing content together. It just like kind of very organically happened.
Organically happen?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that organically happen? I think there's a lot of people would have a lot of questions, like that you guys meet at a place, like there's.
Oh no, he has a second house for all his content. I mean, he has like a wife and kids and stuff, and he has a second house for like all his content and stuff. And so, I mean, we talked for like an hour before. He ended up like running my OnlyFans for a couple months after that. Like, he's actually a really cool dude. Really
I'm
cool.
Sure
and he's like a family man. Like and the way he speaks about his wife, he has like the utmost respect for her.
Who's his wife? Was she in the industry?
She was briefly, but not anymore.
I would love to unpack that. So he's got a wife and kids. He's a family man, and he's still doing porn.
He talks like very, very highly of his wife, and that's something I really respect about him. And she was in the industry, so she gets it. And like he even said to her, like, "Do you want me not to do this anymore?" And she's like, "No, it's like your job. Like, please keep doing it." Like, but yeah, it just, for me, it was, and I've also have a lot of sexual exploration experience. So for me, it wasn't too out of the normal. I've been to orgies and showed up and had sex kind of in the same way that I did with him before. So it just like.
Did they ask you to go on Plug Talk?
I was on No Jumper.
Yeah.
I mentioned to Adam that I might be interested in, but I don't think I want to, just because like I said, most of my stuff is from real life. Like after thinking about it,
have you seen that? I saw a preview of that and I was stunned.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, there's a show called Plug Talk. It's from Adam 22 and his wife Lena the Plug, or I don't know if they're married, from No Jumper. And they basically interview a girl for like 45 minutes and then have sex with her.
Yeah.
And like, there's no transition. So, it's not, but this is what part that's crazy, because people don't understand. There's just sitting there talking to a girl, and then there's like, all right, let's do, it's not like, all right, let's do this and break. They just walk over to her and start fucking her.
Yeah.
Like the two of them. Wow. Just imagine Charlie Rose. It's funny, it's a bad example because Charlie Rose got hit up for the sexual allegations. Imagine Charlie Rose is just sitting there talking to Diane Sawyer and then just gets up and starts fucking her. And there's no transition. They don't change clothes or anything. That's what this fucking podcast is. It is like, the idea of it is, they're already in like the top 0.001% for this. Yeah. I saw him on Twitter. I was like, wow, it is crazy.
And that's like kind of why I was like, maybe do I do it for like the exposure and the money?
Yeah.
Because then my OnlyFans will blow up. But like at the end of the day, you know, I went on No Jumper and talked to him about this, and you know, told him about my narcissistic ex, and he's like, people call me a narcissist all the time. I'm like, oh really? And then I saw some clips where he was, you know, just flat out saying like he wants his, I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend or whatever they are, Lena, to himself and not to be with other men, kind of like how you want things. And you know, something just doesn't sit right with me.
Right, I got it.
And I guess maybe I am starting to like what's good for me, and maybe the shift is happening because, you know, I'm just not attracted to that now. I like a man who's like secure enough in his sexuality to let his women fuck other men. Like that to me gets me so wet. That gets me so like turned on. If you are just so secure in your sexuality that you are not allowing, but like, you know, kind of allowing in a sense your woman.
I do think it's allowing. I do. Like it's not slavery, but it is a function where
if we use the word both ways, then I'll allow it.
For
like
sure.
If the woman's like, yes, I allow you to I mean, it's the same way. It's not like the man, like he's just the one allowing it. Like no, if the people in the relationship are allowing it.
Yeah, if we don't have boundaries, we don't have a relationship. And in order for us to exceed those boundaries, we must allow that thing.
I think the trigger for me with that word, when you initially said it, like in the beginning of this interview, it was like the man has the power and he calls all the shots. She has the power.
No, I was in a relationship and we had a very clear understanding. We were not going to have sex with other people unless we were both in the room.
Yeah.
It was always going to be.
A lot of people have that understanding, and I actually probably would be fine with that kind of understanding.
And to be honest with you, like, okay, being with one woman, let's just say that's 1 point of awesome, and then with another woman is another point of awesome. Being with both of them together is 500 points of awesome. It's not 2 points of awesome. It's 500 points of awesome. I don't want, if I'm in love with a woman, I want to be with other women with her. I don't need to be with other women without her. In fact, I've done that before where I really liked
you closer.
I really liked a girl, and then another girl wanted to sleep with me, and she was like, yeah, fine, go ahead with her. And I remember in the middle of the date, like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I went and raced to this other house to go find my girl.
You know why it brings you closer? Because it allows you to give a level of honesty to the relationship that a lot of other relationships don't have. Because look, if you're sitting at dinner and you're with another couple, that guy is going to want to fuck that girl across from the table, whether he tells his girlfriend about it or not.
Sure.
So the fact that he could be like, babe, I really want this experience, and she's like into it, like that, just like now you're not hiding anything from each other. You can have this experience. It brings you closer. Like there's just no lies. There's like no bullshit. And I think everyone should aspire to be on that level of sexual liberation.
Telling the truth, I think, is awesome, even if sexual liberation or not.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Some of y'all will never get there, and it's unfortunate for you.
Yeah, you didn't do you did not do the work to watch other penises go into your girlfriend. You need to do the work. Guys, hear that? You do the work.
Don't
and then
quote me. It's true. You got to do the fucking work.
You do the work. Do the therapy, and then you can watch other penises go inside of your girlfriend, and you can be evolved enough to do that.
Don't quote me about. It's true. It's like letting go of like your ego. And
I believe that it is true in the instances for the people that it is true.
So it's rude to do that because it's like for some people that's true.
I agree. I don't disagree that.
So take it back. That's so rude. Apologize.
Okay. For me, I don't believe that's true, but I do believe that is true. I'm sorry if that offended you, honey. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about this. So she called me, and we talked about this for a while. It was Bree Stern hit me up, and she was like asking me for like legal advice about the the LA Swindler.
The Tinder Swindler.
And I told her one of the concerns I had was initially, because I didn't know all the details, was about her getting involved in a defamation suit. But this guy's a total piece of shit. Like he had nothing going for him. Like she was worried about getting hit up for legal defamation. But the reality situation, he didn't even have a lawyer. He was just making this whole thing up. Can you talk about the LA, not the Tinder Swindler, and we're not talking about these other Fire Festival. This is a specific dude in Los Angeles who was stealing money from girls.
And we named him the LA Swindler because it was after.
Bro, you can say his name. I want him to come after me. What was his name?
Oh crap, what's his name? Lewis something.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's brother. You are more welcome. I'll have you on the podcast. I might beat the shit out of you while we do it, but you are more than welcome to come by and talk shit about me.
Actually, I mean, he got himself in even more trouble, and someone actually contacted me. They're on to him now, so they're doing this full-blown investigation. But he did steal a lot of money. He is an expert manipulator. Out of the LA girls that he stole money from or fucked over, I think I'm actually the only one that he didn't, because like I went and kicked him out of my apartment, and because he was renting it from me, and I just kind of went Jersey on him, but I feel like...
Here's a question. Do you think if you had not had previous experiences with narcissists that you would have been able to pick this guy out?
Yes and no, because, you know, I think that I learned a lot from that experience in that don't be nice. Get the money first. The wire's coming. Fuck that. Like, give me the fucking money or you're not moving in my apartment.
Yeah,
like,
Cardi B has it wrong. You don't fuck him, then you get the money. It's the other way around. You get the money first, Cardi B.
Yeah. And, like, I had nothing romantic with this guy whatsoever.
Yeah.
But he still found a way to, like, manipulate me with, like, Rolexes and all that. Like, these people are studying the Tinder swindler and they're doing the exact same thing in a slightly different way and, like, getting away with it. It's really, it's unfortunate. But he moved, I think, to the East Coast now. I just want him to get his ass out of here. Like, out of the U.S. because he's still fucking people over on golf courses and stuff.
Yeah, bro, I'm like, for real, like, if that Tinder swindler dude, like, I get what he did. It was, you know, obviously we're talking about the Netflix special. Like, I would break that dude's jaw if I saw him. Like, that stuff, like, to me, because the problem that like, I feel like a lot of people miss is, like, is it my business? No, but it's a situation where, like, if you're an empathetic human being,
exactly.
I think the ultimate form of masculinity to me is to do things for other people, to be willing to die for other people. I think that is an ultimate expression of masculinity. It's not necessarily how many women you have sex with or how much money you make. The ultimate expression of masculinity are the men on Omaha Beach in the 1940s who stormed that beach knowing full fucking well they were all going to die. To me, that is an expression of masculinity. To me, I have a friend of mine. She told me she was kidnapped and sexually assaulted in Mexico, and all I could think about was beating the shit out of that dude. And to me, that's what it should be about. It's about I'm not going to save anybody, but I should be able to protect them. Walking your friends to the car, making sure nobody accosts your friends when they walk to the table inside of a nightclub, little things like that. I believe you should protect your friends, but you can't save them, right? Like, again, I might walk into a club with you, right? But if you want to leave and go off and talk to this piece of shit over here, I can't stop you. Go talk to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that happened. When I see that those stories, it just makes me so angry. Again, you know, Bree, should she have known better? Maybe. But, like, the fact that somebody did that to her makes me fucking angry as shit.
They're expert manipulators, and you guys don't understand. Like, you think, oh, these women no, we're actually really intelligent, but these people are expert manipulators.
That's what I was saying before, about narcissists.
They are
psychopaths.
Expert manipulators, and they just know exactly what to say, what to do to be believable, and it's, you know, they could fool anyone. And yes, you can get better at picking up on certain things and, you know, getting the money first and stuff, but yeah, these people just need to not exist anymore. They're just horrible.
So he was renting from you?
Yeah, my apartment.
So, and how'd you catch him? Because the wires never came through or something?
The wires never came through, and he kept, like, sending a little money here. I was like, no, we agreed 3 months up front. 3 months up front, or I'm coming there tomorrow and kicking your ass out. And, you know, after, like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was like, that's it. I flew back, kicked him out, and whatever. But he the way he fucked up was, like, he sued me or fake sued me. Like, he forged documents from a law firm, and, like, his dumbass did the same thing to another girl and left my name on it. And so this girl reached out to me like, did he do the same thing to you? And then we all found each other, you know, so he's just...
And you called the law firm, and it turns out
none
of this was real.
I called the law firm. I'm like, hey, I just got this, like, law document. I just wanted to verify that, you know, it's real. And they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty standard procedure. Well, one of the questions you had asked is, like, why does somebody like this feel like they can get away with it? Well, one of the tenets of narcissism or antisocial personality disorder is a lack of impulse control. You don't do things with a long term. You'll notice a lot of things about psychopaths. They go about 5 months to a year, and then they have to move to a new city.
Do you want to know something so interesting? Both my ex and my dad, after telling them about the story of like, oh no, like the Rolex, blah, 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 both of them go, Jen, I don't think that this guy, it sounds fishy to me, and it's because they're both narcissists. And they both would have done the same exact thing. So they picked up on it faster than me because I'm empathetic. I want to see the good in people, whatever. They were both like, my ex was like, I don't know, something seems, and he was right because he would have done the same thing in a different way, but he, you know, their brains operate in similar ways.
I only pay attention to people's actions, man. That took a long time, especially as a man when you see a really pretty girl or you see somebody who you admire and they start saying words and you start believing those words. For me, man, I just learned a long time ago, like, you just only pay attention to people's actions.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I look at. So you talk about going on No Jumper. What was that experience like?
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. There was a girl on it before me, that boosted chick, and then I went on. I mean, there's no sex involved on No Jumper.
Yeah, for sure.
There is a little bit of nudity involved, though.
Yeah.
I did like change in front of the camera. But it was a cool experience. I enjoy any time I can get my views and story out because I'm really passionate about it, and I feel like that is like part of my mission is to help normalize certain things. So it was fun. I really have, it's fine. I have nothing bad to say, nothing like extremely good to say. It was cool.
Very cool. And then the other thing I was going to ask you about, they talked about on No Jumper it wasn't just on No Jumper. There was another podcast you did where they talked about dating NBA players.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So this is you talked about going through different phases. This is a topic that again, men generally, we don't go through a lot of phases. We go through a lot of phases as far as our own status is concerned. And we may go through a phase where we like are a little bit more willing to settle down. But for the most part, like I see women that like very, very different in their early 20s than they are in their like 30s.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know that I would necessarily call it a phase, but in those 4 years when I danced for the Nets, that is what I was surrounded by athletes.
Yeah.
And so that is what I dated.
Yeah.
Athletes, even though we weren't allowed to, I did it anyway. It was like literally in our contract, like no fraternization with the players.
Yeah.
Just the dancers contract. It's
And
not
so-
that the players could do whatever the fuck they want.
And so what was Spencer Dinwiddie like?
What? Spencer who?
How are you and Karis LeVert? How did that work out?
Oh, I don't even know these people. You're talking about.
I love this game. It's a super fun game. Ready, everybody? Write your favorite Brooklyn net from 10 years ago.
Who do you think I fucked it? It's two NBA players and two NFL players.
Write your favorite Brooklyn Nets in the chat, man. How are you and Kyrie Irving?
These guys are probably like shaking.
That's so
my
funny.
wife's gonna find out.
That's funny. Gonna find out about Blake Griffin and me. Yeah, let's just keep throwing them out there. See if we can figure out who it is. Oh man, we know it wasn't Joe Harris though. We know that it wasn't Joe Harris. All right, beautiful, awesome. Where can people? So the Jen Rufo Show. What do you have planned for that? And then you said you also have another podcast.
Yeah, so the Jen Rufo Show. That's on Spotify, iTunes, my personal Instagram, Jen Rufo. I have a new podcast starting with my girl Patty K. She's also in the swinger lifestyle. She also posts real life stuff on OnlyFans. So we figured we'd team up because it's very rare that you find swinger girls who post their real content on OnlyFans, like from real life, no scenes, no nothing. And we're just very like-minded. And we thought, we'd have some really cool conversations. So that's in the works. It's probably launching like mid-September. So I'm really excited about that. Stay tuned for that. And that's really it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else? You have like certain boyfriends you're going to cheat on in your OF?
No.
By the way, I didn't get it at first. And then later on when you explained it to me, I was like, oh, it's like not only did you have this archetype with this one guy you were with, but like that's your thing on OnlyFans. Like that's your specialty.
Yes and no. So I just, whatever is going on in my life is what I post on my OnlyFans.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's not like, the cheating thing worked in the beginning. Like, it was like, guys liked it. It was like, it's kind of like a kink. But at the same time, like, whatever's going on in my real life, that's what I'm going to post on. So even if it's like, I'm not emotionally ready to date, I'm going to fuck a porn star. Like, that's what's going on my OnlyFans. I'm just going to keep it really real with you guys, like, the whole time,
I think that's the quote of, hey, Shar, you can go ahead and use that one. I'm not emotionally ready to date. I'm going to fuck a porn star. You know what I need? I need a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I personally need a T-shirt.
And then you could have Kieran's face and Manuel. And I almost went to Sins too, but I think I'm done with my porn star face.
You know those little Twitter things that we're posting on my IG? 100%. That's yours. I'm not emotionally ready to date.
But I just want to bring it back to the phases one more time because I really don't believe in phases. I really don't have a type.
I think you don't think women have phases? Really?
I don't, personally. Okay. My only thing is
but
like
it's not
6 foot or taller.
Uh-huh.
And I'm small, I'm 5'3", but like I just like tall. I just like it.
Yeah.
And I like big, like a big butt on a guy. But as far as like ethnicity is concerned or anything like that, like I really don't have a type.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Truly.
You big booty, thick men right there. They're 6 feet tall.
Well, just like do squats. It doesn't have to be like a big fucking bubble butt. But like if you're like, it can't be like chicken legs. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey guys, listen, I promised you that we'd have her on, and she delivered. It was an incredible conversation. This is what it's been like for us. Awesome. I just always want you to know I am on your side. I know we argue about different stuff.
We do. We butt heads a lot.
But I think it's good though because like yes, I do come from like I'm fully aware of the fact that I grew up in a you know, as a Protestant in Texas who played high school football, joined the military, was a heterosexual, and then afterwards, all the things that I did wasn't difficult for me. It wasn't a difficult transition for me to do that. I know that some people have a much harder time. I had no physical or psychological abuse. I cannot complain about my parents at all. I'm incredibly lucky. I lived in the same house from the time I was born until I graduated from high school. I lived in East Dallas. So for those things, when I go back and I talk to other people, I'm like, man, I had it really lucky. My high school experience was fucking terrible, but the rest of it I thought was pretty great. Yeah. And so when I see other people, like I have a client who's a homosexual dude, and I was asking him, like, dude, what was that like coming out, man? That must have been hard as shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Coming out. Or when I talk to my friends who are lesbians, or anything like that, or something else, or somebody who's a different ethnicity, or you're adopted by a family that's a different color than you. There's different stuff like that. So I always try to be aware of that. And so even though I do come from a cisgendered, fucking dumb male caveman brain thing, I do like the fact that we were able to have these conversations.
It's good because you challenge me to, like, I do have actually a lot of trauma, like a shit ton, not only from my parents, from other things too. Yeah. And like, you challenge me because you, in a nutshell, trigger me. Like in things you say, I do. And it's just like, but it's a good challenge for me to like pause, like, and think about how I want to respond to it with integrity. Yeah. And like learning how to like not let the trigger control me, kind of thing. So
yeah, I just have a punchable face. That's what I've heard.
You do. Yeah.
That's what it is. Beautiful. Awesome. I do have a bubble butt though. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys for coming on this. I mean, I have so much gratitude. I will tell you we got 1 million views on Reels last week. In 1 week. Guys, I am not a super hot girl with breast implants. The fact that we're hitting these numbers, 9,000 people shared my Reels last week. For some of you girls who have 2 million followers, you're like laughing at me right now. I get it. But like for me, as a dude, just a normal fucking guy who did not pay for any Instagram followers and doesn't have a blue check mark, I am still blown away by not only that, by the support that I'm getting, and also by thank you to all the people who are making fake accounts of me. There's 10 every day, new fake accounts of me. I want to say, that part has been crazy, but just thank you guys so much for the reviews on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. I did not think this would grow so fast. And the people who have reached out to come on the show are so far above my weight. The most hated man in the entire world reached out to me. He wants to come on the podcast here pretty soon, so we're gonna probably get him.
Can you bring me on to like yell at him?
Yeah, you want to yell at him? Oh my
God, I would love that. That would be so therapeutic for me.
Awesome. We're gonna have him on too. I'm just so blown away by the response that I've been getting. Every night I go out and 10 people, I'm not kidding, come up to me and they're like, man, I love your podcast. So this has been amazing. By far the biggest thing I've ever done. So I want to say thank you guys. Shout out to all the guys in Men of Action. We have like doubled our growth in the last couple months. And so thank you guys for all of you guys who joined. I do this podcast for you gentlemen. A lot of the questions that I got today came from the guys in MOA. So thank you guys for doing that, man. I just have nothing but gratitude for you. Next week, we got another doozy. So stay tuned. I'm holding on by my fingernails. We're on a roller coaster ride, and thank you guys for coming with me. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you for having me.